out the fight, yeah, bring on all the lightning. Cause I'm looking for a hero, look inside the mirror, I find one. Oh, carry the hurt when it gets too hard, pick it up, dust it off. When I fall down 11, I get up 12, don't need nobody else. Yeah, I can save myself.
Welcome back, bold listeners. I'm Mackenzie Goslin, your host of the Be Bold podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by hairdresser, entrepreneur, and friend, Shantel Taylor. Shanti, how are you?
Hi, honey. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited that you're here.
I'm so excited, too.
All right. So we're going to kind of just dive right into it. Great. So you are a friend, so this is kind of a fun episode for me right off the bat. And you also are my hairdresser. So I would say doing this podcast is a little bit unique for me because we kind of have a podcast episode every time you do my hair in your kitchen. So
we do, yeah.
Part of hairdressing, right? Like you chat with your clients. So
you chat, you listen, you come up with amazing ideas, and every single time, I don't know how many times we've said we should really have taped that.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's so much to it.
And then there's times where we've probably thought this, I'm so glad nobody's listening.
Absolutely. yeah.
But the idea today is really to dive into all the things that make you you. So the hairdressing and then the spirit of entrepreneurship that you carry and kind of how we're connected, our values, and just kind of, we're going to just chat. We're going to do it like we do it in your kitchen. So how did you get started with hairdressing?
Well, I was planning to go off to university and get out of the small town that I grew up in and got nervous. So fear kept me back from doing that.
Yeah.
My mom was a hairdresser her whole life, and it was within our family as well. And my mom was a single mom. So at the point where I was making a decision at 19, what do? I knew that if I went ahead and got my certification, went to school, not only was I having a new adventure, but I was also going forward with something that I would have for my lifetime to support myself, or if I was ever found myself in a situation where I couldn't make any money.
And something that you can fall back on no matter what part of your life, right? And I think
was security.
Yeah. So we mentioned concepts like fear, right? Yes. And fear of getting started, which I want to dive into in a minute. But I really want to talk about like the service industry. So like beauty and service, because I feel a lot of business owners that I've met that do hair, nails, lashes, makeup, all that good stuff. It really is a booming business in the sense that you can make your own rules.
Yes.
You help other people feel beautiful, right?
You have connection.
You have connection. So there's a lot of different facets to that. But I really want to dive into the concept of relying on it as a source of income no matter what. So once you learn a skill and you learn a tool, you can take that with you. You can leave it. You can pick it back up. You can kind of, through motherhood. And I know you mentioned being a mom.
You could be anywhere. I've been on holiday and had people ask if I could cut their hair.
Yeah. So an incredible business for somebody who's thinking of like, hey, I maybe want to start and get out on my own. I want to get out of an unhealthy relationship. I want to like pave my own path. Would you recommend like getting into a service like a hair?
Absolutely. Any service where you're connecting with people, where my biggest thing was I didn't feel very confident about the hair part because I was a beach kid. My hair is a bit of a mess all the time. And, I liked playing with other people's hair and doing other people's hair. I also did barbering as well. And when I started in London, I had some great tutelage. I had some great opportunities because I was with some of the biggest leaders in London learning my craft. But the hardest part for me, I was uncertain about sharing with people and connecting with people. And I learned very quickly that is the most important thing about doing a service. You have to realize that you're having this space with somebody, sometimes weekly. And being thrown into that, the first haircut I ever did, I hid behind the man and I didn't know what to speak to him about. I stood behind him like, oh my gosh, I have to talk to him for half an hour.
I feel like we need a picture of this haircut somewhere to just pop in.
Oh, it's crazy. And so I took it honestly as a schooling in itself. Any service that you do, I've worked within beauty salons and with many people over years doing many, many services. I feel that if you're listening, it really tunes you into people and their needs and wants. It also makes you more compassionate. And so that was kind of where I centered myself. I did hair, and I looked at it as an experience of going to university and doing my research in anthropology and asking people thousands of questions. And that's pretty much how I kept feeling more secure about myself and my job, and then was able to transfer that into my own business.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you specifically about that exact concept of like education versus experience, right? So especially in entrepreneurship, it's really important because I think a lot of people, just in career paths in general, let alone entrepreneurship, but we think that we need the ticket, we need the education, we're told you need the university degree, you need,
right?
And absolutely important, definitely. Some professions more important than others,
Right.
But the spirit of entrepreneurship, I don't think that you necessarily need that piece of university degree, right? It's important, but do you learn? I want to hear your thoughts on the difference between that experience and the value of experience versus the value of the actual education taught in a.
So you and I've spoken about this before, and I think the biggest thing, of course, everyone wants their child to go ahead, forge their path, go to school, do all the right things. But some people's path, I think you're kind of born an entrepreneur. There's something about you that sees the world a little differently. There's more creativity, more open-mindedness that some people might kind of think is odd. Right?
We're laughing because we both relate to that. Like,
because people
how many times have we been told
about?
that?
That's the most ridiculous idea. But I think in serving yourself by doing that, what you learn from it is that every single job that you do, and you've had other guests on here talking about the horrible jobs that we have to do to get where we eventually want to be, is a stepping stone. And the skills that you learn are incredible through university. You're learning how to adapt to more people, not necessarily just your family, and you're learning about new concepts, and you're learning how to forge your way in the world and use your time management and all of those things. So I think either path you take is really important, but the skill set that you make in the end becomes what you can use as an entrepreneur if you're solely doing it on your own.
Yeah.
But you have to be committed to yourself, right? And that's daunting to people. I think that being daunting is the part why people think, I'm not good at math, I can't do my accounting, I can't do this and that. And truly, I mean, you can ask for help for there are so many resources now. So I feel that's wanting to it.
That's what we're doing with this People community, is hopefully being that resource for other people. And like, that's why it's very important for me to have a representation and of different walks of life and different career paths and different whatever, recognized and given a voice on this couch, because I know nothing about hair, I know nothing about cheese boards, I know nothing about any of it, but what we all have in common is the spirit of entrepreneurship and just kind of making that decision one day to start, and we're still seeing it through, and that's
and it might parlay into something else. Right?
Yeah.
You often see that. I mean, Penny Rumming, for example, she had a salon and she was doing aesthetics, and she learned a lot of skills from that, parlayed it into her cheese board company. It's I think we seem to be told that we have to have one way and one line of doing things.
No.
And that I have learned from my own experience, that is not how it has to go.
Yeah. And that's I'm saying no, and I don't often, usually I'm like, I could see both sides of something. And for me, that's where I'm like, oh no, it's not one way of doing things. Like, that is something that I feel, and I'm young at 26 years old. I do feel that that is one thing that I've learned in my 26 years. And I'm pretty confident in saying is that there's not one way to do everything.
Well, and look where you started.
And exactly. And I'm still trying different things today.
That's right.
And something that worked when I first started my business, might not be what works now.
That's right.
So it still evolves even internally in your own business, let alone all these different people trying to replicate the same recipe.
And even with Be Bold, that's an extension of something you've already created.
Yeah.
But then you also created something out of another job that you had. So, people don't just necessarily climb up a corporate ladder when they're doing entrepreneurship. Yeah. They learn and develop as things are laid out in front of them and pivot with it. And I think that type of you either really sink your teeth into it and understand it, or you don't, and the more people I meet, it seems that there are more people that just want to find their connection to what makes them happy, secure, and that's what we're all trying to do.
Yeah, and the concept of security, and I know my parents and people around me in my inner circle have said Listen, I've got a crazy great support system. Like everybody supports me, believes in me. I think I'll think I'm a little bit nuts, but you've got to be a little bit nuts to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. But the concept of safety and security, I think that like, you know, you're raising a daughter and you want them to, maybe there's a part of everybody in my circle that wanted me to pick something that was safe, like safe and secure. And we know she's got income. We know that she can support herself. Absolutely. We know that it's there. Right?
And as a parent, you never want your child to suffer or have a hard line, right?
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the reasons I'm so happy that I started young, was because I was like, well, hold on, I can build the security though. I might not have the stability and security in the first little couple years or first 5 years.
Were there to help support
you and I will say that was a big part of my journey. But I want to kind of segue that into our story and where we've connected, and just about you know, starting young, starting a business in your midlife, starting it older, and kind of the concept of wisdom, I think, is where I want to go with this and talk to you about, because we, as I mentioned, like a lot of our conversation in the hair and whatnot, and just through our friendship is about, like, I lean to you a lot for wisdom. I lean to a lot of people that are going to be featured on this episode, on this podcast, for wisdom, right? And my family and people in my life. And I don't know everything. And you're my sounding board for a lot of the decisions I do make.
Yes.
And I want to talk about the relationship there, like, because we kind of yin and yang
and for that,
back and forth. So
because that's how we learn, right?
Yeah.
If you're in a space where you're trying to explain yourself to somebody and you're not being heard, you don't feel safe.
Yeah.
So, you know, having your own community outside of the extension of your family and your friends, and that can change, you know, that's what wisdom is. It's creating your insights after, you know, learning how things work for you and how they don't. And I think we're leaning on each other more culturally now. There's so much going on in the world, and everyone has their insights that they could share with somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful that you feel that way too.
Me too. And it's the perfect opportunity, I think, to kind of talk about your transition here in terms of the hair and all that we've mentioned about your wisdom, helping others, the connection, who you are. Yes, you're great at hair, but there's so much more to you than the actual service. And we've kind of segued into, I think I can announce it, but InnerShanti Heals is kind of where we're going with this and where you're going with your brand. And I'm so excited because we were able to help you kind of create some of the visuals for it.
You really pushed me to do that, and I needed that.
Yeah. And that's where we go back and forth, right? You kind of keep me sometimes on the straight and narrow, and I'm sometimes like, hey, let's try this crazy thing together, right? Yeah. So, you're really you're pivoting. Big pivot, but it's scary and it's daunting, but it's also so you. So like somebody who knows you, I'm like, it's really not that big of a pivot because it's what you do day in and day out with people, right? You're just monetizing it now.
And I'm also just settling into it. You know, InnerShanti to me, well, my nickname is Shanti, and it means peace in Sanskrit. And I kind of adopted that when I met my partner, Rob, 7 years ago. So he was very much, you know, oh, you're all, you know, spiritual and you help people and you'll jump up and do anything and, you know, just see through things and communicate what some people don't see and need. And, you know, he was very much a push for that for me to, I think that maybe, you know, somebody will lean on me. But then you realize through all these years of having amazing clients, and some for 35, 40 years, truly, and a lot of, you know, my sons, I've got 3 sons, and the sons' friends and families, and just seeing everybody, you know, it's given me so much wisdom just listening to these people and seeing them grow and have things fall apart. And no, to have the guts to do that. So I want to help people and guide people in their journey of trying to find out who they are and what makes them tick and support them. And also, you know, living in a chaotic world that we're in, to really find the inner peace that we're looking for.
Yeah. And I will say, as a testament, like, you do it with such like grace, but also you're so powerful in the way you like phrase things sometimes that it's like you don't tell somebody, like, you already know where they need to go. You've got it, like, it's clear when you meet somebody for you. I think it's a gift in a way, like it's an intuitive gift, but you also don't force it out of somebody. Like you let them get to where they need to go to. So it's almost like a therapy session in a way, like you're guiding it. And
sometimes that's what people say. You know, one of the best parts of that job for me is when, and I think I told you this the other day, was when I was doing your hair. And when someone says something and you feel their body, like sometimes I don't see your face when I'm doing your hair, but I can just feel your energy, and all of a sudden it shifts and it's like, it's like a relax, or it's like, oh my God, that's exciting to hear yourself in that moment.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I want to help people with. It's not about me blathering on about something or, you know, but if I can guide and direct you in a way to find that piece of yourself, because we, you know, we tend to follow what we're told to do. Some of us aren't heard, some of us aren't seen. And when you get all of that laid out in front of you, because you created that and somebody just heard you enough that you recognized it, that's like, my face gets red right now. Just
Yeah, and I was
thinking
going
about
to
it.
say, like,
love
I can see the sparkle and I can see you light up when you talk about that, right? So it's the concept of, like, we started this conversation in the fact of, like, things change, right? Like, it's not one size fits all. And even internally in your own business, in your own life, it moves, it changes, it evolves. And I think that that's part of embracing entrepreneurship and embracing life. Like, life, the concept of life in general is being like,
if you're living
it's
life,
going to change.
If you're living life, it's going to come to you and you're going to learn to pivot, right? Entrepreneurs tend to do that better than some people who get stuck in a 9-to-5 job every day. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're all different. But I just feel that people who are more open to change tend to be more entrepreneurs. And, you know, as far as to be bold and trying to encourage, you know, people in a hard spot, that don't be afraid to move forward. If you've got the support of a community, and even if you have the silliest question, we've been there, right? Everybody wants to see you succeed, and you're not trapped just because you don't know that one thing, but follow exactly what it is you're so strong about. It doesn't even have to be passion, because that will come, but something that you feel that you need to have in your life. You know?
Yeah. And we did talk about the concept of passion and, like, how do you know something's aligned, right? Like, how do you know that you are meant to do hair? I mean, you at some point were like, I meant to, did you?
Yeah,
did you? I didn't know that.
Well, my mom had done it for years, and, like, bless her heart, she looked after us. Beautiful mom, right? She was at home doing stuff too. Like, I really just, I knew that it was something that was very challenging for me. A, I didn't want to touch anyone. B, I didn't want to talk to them for a half an hour, because unless you're in my close circle, I really didn't want to do the chit chat small talk. I was very uncomfortable with that. So I felt very, like, thrown into it, and the fake it till you make it, like we've spoken before. And what I learned is that I was actually seeking something that I was repelling. Right? Like, I was almost pushing it away.
Is it what you needed?
I felt that it was what I needed, because then when I realized, oh, I can learn so much in here, and I never stopped learning. I'm reading books till God knows what time at night, right? I feel like that was the part of me that, because it was my mom's world, right? And it was my family's world, and I had other family members that do hair forever. And so I just was like, well, I want to go forge my own path. But I feel like I kind of pulled different things out of it that maybe my mom had.
Well, because now you're pivoting to,
pivoting.
Which came from the hair and the networks and the connections and people you met, and now we're pivoting into, like, a healing space and a wellness space, right?
That's right.
So, that's exactly it. Is you learn as you go.
Yep.
You kind of become all these different versions of
and
yourself.
You have to give yourself credit for that, but also give yourself some comfort for that, right? Because giving yourself grace, everyone else can tell you you're awesome and all the things, but until you truly feel it, you can't go out and execute a plan and think, oh, I have to wake up in the morning, I have to do all these things. It would just be so much work. It's being comfortable with yourself, and that's, you know,
and
that's
it's leading, like, a lot of entrepreneurs that I have met. It gets to a point sometimes, like, where you lead with ego, and you're not leading with purpose anymore. Like, you're making all these changes, or you're buying the building, and you're buying the new car, and you're getting the big sign up out front, and you've lost the connection. Not all the times, but sometimes it does. It's something that we've got to, like, kind of fine tune, is making sure that we're still leading with a mission and a purpose, and not just the ego and the glamour of what entrepreneurship can be. And
because
often
that's why we often choose a job, right? It's the money, the hours, the possibly the notoriety, or whatever that might be for you. And, like, as you've learned, it's not always roses and sunshine.
It is sometimes the most humbling. I will say, in my journey, it's the most humbling thing I've ever had. You have to put yourself in front of, like, and just, there's no hiding, right?
No.
And your biggest insecurities, personally, I would say, come out, right?
They do.
And have you found that to be the same?
I have seen that, and I've seen that with other, you know, friends that are entrepreneurs as well. And, you know, interestingly, ripping that mask off and showing your true self and being vulnerable is how you find your best work, right? And your purpose. Because there's nobody that I've ever known that started a business and gone, I'm going to do all these things, and not been humbled, humiliated, had things fall through, you know? And so, no, I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
And your purpose should come not early on when you're starting a career, because how would you know that unless you've had something? There are people, who've had something happen in their family and they want to become a doctor, or,
Yep.
the altruism of that. But being compassionate to yourself, I think, and giving yourself that time to realize, oh, this is where I'm headed. This is what I want out of it.
Yeah.
It is a humbling situation. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's the part about entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't quite get. Like my why in getting into it was like, I was that kid that was too much, too loud, too all the things, right? And I was like, oh gosh, I have all this energy. Where do I put it? And in class, like you're learning your career and it's, oh, you're going to be a firefighter or like all these things that are, are government jobs. And I was like, that's not going to work for me. I actually got, I think I've maybe told you this in one of our personal conversations, but my career path was going to be a lumberjack. That's what I got. And my civics and career class was a lumberjack. Like, how unfitting is that? And how broken does that feel of a quiz or of a system, right?
And my own children went through that, and there were some odd choices that were coming out in those years. But that's society telling us what we have to do at this time, right? So not that I'm like completely rebellious, because I do a lot of things I'm supposed to do, but I've always told my children, be resourceful, learn who you are, be strong. I've dealt with a lot of younger people doing hair, and I've been able to kind of forge a relationship with them on their own and help them into adulthood. And that's been just a gift. And, yourself included, like we've grown together, right?
Absolutely.
And also knowing the family values, I think, is really important. So, when you've got something laid out in front of you and it looks ridiculous, you're thinking, okay, what now what am I supposed to do? Because if this is my best option, right?
And you feel you have to pick, but that the word entrepreneurship, I've said it a million times this episode, but I say entrepreneurship because it's not necessarily business. It's entrepreneur, like you pave your own way, and when you're starting a business or you have that key idea, sometimes it's finding the niche that wasn't there. Like the most successful entrepreneurs find that little, this is where I'm going to do marketing, but I'm going to do it Mackenzie's way. Like I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to do hair, but I'm going to also heal, and I'm going to you find your thing, and I agree. And sometimes it's a mix. It's a mixed
generally,
bag.
when somebody's starting something new, where I am right now, pivoting is the big thing. I lost my partner tragically last year. This is something that he was, very big on me doing. That support alone, because I came to you last year and said, okay, now what do I do for marketing? Because I have no clue, right? And we developed something beautiful. And, I've had a few girlfriends say, oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. And just the thought of being able to help other people and bring people together for health and wellness, that could be just trying to find some quiet time for yourself or some peace for yourself. I feel like that whole pivoting thing, it taught me that it's not just entrepreneurship, right? It's at a soul level, like it's deep. So as far as, looking for that job and the things that you're going to do, the niche thing, like you said earlier, that is so important, because this is why I want to do this. I don't want anyone to feel like I do. Yeah. I don't want anyone to go through where I've been. But there's been a lot of work involved, right? So I think most people who become very successful in what they do and find their purpose is because they've had something happen to them that has brought them down, notches. And when that happens to you and you have the courage to keep going, wow, right? Because that's fueled by your heart. That is fueled by everything. That's fueled by love, not fear. Yeah. And so I think that's the biggest thing.
And I really love that, because what we're doing, and through Be Bold, we're connected with the London Abused Women's Center, and it's about inspiring people to fuel their own fire, but it's also about inspiring people to take a bad situation and try to do something good, right? And we're connected with virtual Connect counseling, and one of her biggest things that Stephanie, that owns the company, always says, like, it's our job to heal. Like, it's our job to, yes, we're the victim in it, but it is our job to, heal it and not do it to others, and making a good choice to move on, like to, an easier.
I agree with you. I think, my mother was an abused woman. And so, she ended up creating her own business, right? Yeah. So her children were her most important thing. So I think, we're talking about like a whole bunch of, if there are people who want to start a new business and they don't feel that they have the support, and you're in a community that you're not really sure what there is, and you have children and that's your main concern, all the more reason to just go, I don't care how this is going to turn out. I'm going to try it, right? Be brave, like hold on and ask for help. And if you can really somehow find that calm inside of you, that's when you have the messages. That's when things start falling into place. That's when things go really haywire and chaotic. But then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened that day, because that just makes it make sense.
And there's a part about like being comfortable in the uncomfortable. And because there's so many stages of your life that like shit is going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
I was going to say, can we swear on this? But yes, we can.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's good with me. Truck drivers.
It's about, learning to be comfortable, repivoting and reinventing yourself. And it is scary. Change is scary. All these things are scary, but that's also life. And I feel what I admire the most out of you is that you've been able to be like, oh my God, the chips are down. I know they're down. I'm not in Delululand saying that they're not, but here's what I'm going to do about it. And here's my people. And you have this like self-confidence, but it's like a quiet confidence as well, where you're like, I got this. Like,
it
I
took
got
time,
this. And,
right? Like it's also
Yeah.
because of the support system I have.
Yeah.
You can't go through a tragedy and then not have wounds and emotional stuff, and just being able to, friends to call and say, are you okay? And letting you be there. You have to let your emotions out. That's all part of healing as well. Yeah. So no, I'm very blessed. I feel that this, there's never a gift in losing a person that you love the most in the world, but the gift is that you can constantly move forward and you can make those choices. And if you don't have the right people, you have to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And knowing how to do that is kind of what I would love to learn, or for people to learn.
Yeah.
Because it took me some time. Absolutely. And you've learned, and we have to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
And hold ourselves with a lot of love.
I think that you are so on the right journey. Like, this just makes so much sense. It feels so aligned. I think, like you mentioned, Rob was such your cheerleader in this way. I think he'd be so happy that you're sitting here. I think he'd be happy we're having this conversation, and that this is where you're going. So
thank you.
I know. And I know you've got some incredible boys at home that you've raised in there.
And they've been fantastic too. And it's changed them too, right?
Yeah.
But everybody's become more compassionate and loving. I mean, we're living in a world right now of fear. I don't ever want my children and the people around me to feel that.
Yeah.
Right. We have to absolutely hold on together and be positive together, because that's what brings the love out. And it might be silly, and it might be something ridiculous, and it might be something that other people don't understand, but it's just kind of standing your ground and doing the right thing for yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I love you. I love you. I love everything that you're about. And you've kind of been my like ace of spades in the back pocket, where I've kind of pulled you out when I've needed you. So I'm so happy that you've come on with Be Bold, and like other people are getting to see this, because it's been my inspiration and a lot of the wind in my sail. So thank you for that. And thank you for
that.
coming on. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Chills.
You're doing an amazing job. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. We're doing it kind of together. And that's what the point of this is, right? Like you said, it takes
if you allow it to
team.
be.
It takes the team, and
Absolutely.
it takes, So girl power, woman power. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm Mackenzie Goslin, your host of the Be Bold podcast. Thank you so much for watching. You can connect with Shantel on social media, and we'll see you back for the next episode.